Okay guys, I got a 2006 F150 here. This one's a Triton. So what we're gonna do today is a leveling kit. It's a Yeti motor, YATA motor. Let me show you that real quick. I'm gonna put a link in the description below for this. I believe it's a 3-inch lifts or leveler kit. It's gonna come with the bolts and such that we need, the hardware, and the spacer. This spacer is gonna sit on top of the strut, so we do have to remove the strut in order to get it in. Let's get a good look at how high it is here. According to the back, you can see it sits a little bit lower in the front, and he just wants to level it out. So we'll see if this is gonna do this for us. We're gonna pull the tire off, we'll get this thing up in the air, see if we can't spread that strut and get it on there. 3 inches might be much. We're gonna find out if the brake line's still gonna reach, if the upper control arm has to be changed, if the shocks aren't gonna extend that far. So we'll get into it and check it all out, but I'll try to make this video not only as detailed as possible, but as quick as possible. But I wanted you to see what it looked like before we did it. So here's our height here from the tire. So we can take a look at this later when we get it done. All right, let's get started. Get that jack up under there. We're not gonna put the jack under the axle. Let's get it on the frame. We want that to hang as much as possible. And let's get that tire up there. Guys, used my 21 and I got the tire off. So this one was actually missing a stud too, or a bolt I mean, on this one here. So that's off of there. Now, the first thing I want to do is get all the length I can. And so I'm going to go ahead and remove this bracket here. And that'll hopefully pull the sensor out and the brake line out a little bit longer. We'll see if we have to put that back or if we need to put it in a different location. Most of these leveling kits are 2.5 inch. This one's 3 inch, or I think 2 inch. 2 inch or 2.5. This one is a 3 inch on a 2-wheel drive. So it might be a bit much like we talked about earlier, but we'll see. So we're going to pull out this 10 millimeter here. We're gonna go ahead and zip off this 18 here. We're gonna pull off the 18 here on the tie rod. And on the sway bar link, we'll go ahead and pull that one as well. Get it all loose. And we want this bad boy just to hang down like that. So let's get that started. So that is nice. That's gonna be plenty of room, I think. So there we go. The tie rod there in 18 and it's not, it's a 21. Now, if this don't come off for you, we're just gonna give her a tap. Mine did not. We're gonna hit it right here with a hammer and see if we can just get that to drop down. Up here, a nice big hammer, we're gonna hit it right there. One hit, she popped right out. How lucky is that? All right, now it looks like we're gonna need the 15 over here, and let's pull that sway bar link off of there. We can just pull it from the bottom and just let it all come up. And that should be plenty because we're gonna just spring it down. Okay, so the top is a 15, the bottom is actually an 18. So we buzzed it off of there. So now let's go ahead and grab another 21 here. There she is, and let's buzz off that upper control arm. When we buzz off this upper control arm, let's don't come all the way off. The reason is we want a little bit to catch it with when we pound it out of there. That's probably enough right there. Now we're going to do the same thing, smack right here with our hammer and hope that upper control arm pops off. There we go. Now we can take the nut off the rest of the way. That way it doesn't drop, hit us on our leg or whatever. I think you get it. Let's pull that nut off the rest of the way, and I'll need both hands so I can catch this rotor from falling too far. These out of the way. Now we're going to work on the bottom part of this strut, not the top part yet. Those 15s can wait on us. Now when I pull these off here, I just want to say, because the I believe it's 2008 or 9 Ford has the 2 that goes through. If you have the 2 that go through that holds the bottom of the strut in, do it a little bit differently. Run the nut out. So let's say this is the bottom of the strut. It's up underneath the lower control arm. Run the nut out about down to there. Then put your socket back on and beat it and take the stud out. Both of those studs off that strut will remove. This one, it looks like it just goes straight through. Yeah, thought those were bolts for a minute there. So this one just pops out this direction. We'll be okay removing this one. But if yours has the studs, take a hammer and beat the studs back out of there, because by the time you put in this 2.5 or 3 inch lift, you're not gonna get this strut back in there with those studs. So just take a moment, loosen them up before you pull it out, run the nut back on a few threads, pound the stud out, take the nut off, take the stud out, take the nut off, take the stud out, and you're gonna find it's so much easier to pull that out of there. So just wanted to give you that tip, and I don't remember exactly what year, but if that's what you have, do it that way. All right, so let's go ahead and bust loose this bottom one here, and then we'll take off those 315s. This one here looks like it's about 7 inches. No, I don't know, 1.25 inches, something like that. Well, let me grab a socket. Okay, now let's buzz this one off. What size was this? 27. Oh, gotta hold something on the other side. Okay, that was hard on the little impact. That thing is tight. So we got the 27 off. Now the nut was bigger. It's probably a 32 or a 33, but the bolt is probably 32. The bolt was a 27. So now let's go ahead and pull off these bad boys here. And the other way because I got it backwards. All right, let me yank these 3 off. Okay, so I've got those 3 off, and the weight of that just pulled right down. That's going to be so much easier than the ones with the studs removing. So, all right, let's see what we can do. Let's get her out of there, and let's get that lift on. Okay, so here's the hardware kit here. Here's our spacer. So the way this is going to work is our bolts, our new bolts, will thread in through these 3 big holes here. So we're going to run those down with a 5/16 or an 8mm, just like this. And so let me go ahead and run those down real quick. They're threaded, so let me run those down real quick. Okay, so there they are, ran down. Now they're sticking up the other side. Now this can only go on one way. So, oh, there's the name. He probably wants that out. Probably has to go out. So let's slide it on. It's not gonna. Nope, it's gonna be in. So there they are now. Now we can put the original 3 nuts back on, and let's tighten those up because the washers and the lock nut will go on the top after we reinstall it. So let's go ahead. Now that we got our 3 studs in there backwards, we can run these nuts back in. Is strip these. So I want to try to run them in by hand as far as I can first. We got those nice little flat washers on them so you can set them right inside your socket. Maybe. So I thought. And there we go. And then we can line them up a lot better. So we'll just run them in by hand. This is nice. It's just hanging there. And all right, let's grab the 3rd one. Did I get the right nut? Yeah, there it goes. Run it in by hand. We just want to make sure that it's right. And it feels like it is. So let's go ahead and run it up now with the impact. If I can get that off. There we go. Now that's ready. We can push that up in there. We might have to twist the shock one way or the other just a little bit. And it will turn. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but it will turn a little bit. And let's get it lined up, and we can put these nuts and washers on the top where these are going to slide into their home. I'm going to joke with you. That part was difficult. I had to get that twisted just a little bit. It was easier to take the bolt off, spin it around, and twist it so that this would turn. I think you understand it. So the one furthest away, it's kind of like a triangle, if you would, and the point is higher at the top of the triangle. That's that far bolt. So that's the triangle you need to be on. So now we got it in there. Let's run the nut on. I just set those on there to hold it up in the air one at a time so I can hold it. Then I slid my bolt back in. I used the bar there to pry it to the left or right, whatever I needed to get that into its home. So let's go ahead and put this big bad boy back on. If we have to, at this point when we're done buttoning this up and buttoning that up, we'll put a jack up underneath there and jack it up so we can get that sway bar on there. So far, the hose and everything looks good. I am really surprised. I think this is going to work. And this is actually a 3-inch, like I said, not a 2 or 2.5. Let's get it buttoned up. Put a jack right up underneath where the shock is there. Just jacked it up, lined it up, pushed down on the lower control arm, put a nut on it and held it. Make sure when you do that, that your sway bar link is lined up in the hole. You don't want to get that caught and be pushing up on the sway bar link because you'll be trying to lift this and the whole truck's lifting. You don't want that. And if the truck does start to lift because you have your other jack or your jack stand underneath the frame, then you're going too high. Push down on the upper control arm. You can push down on it. It's kind of tough, but you can. So all right, let's tighten that up and then we can get our nut on our sway bar link and then put our nut back on our tie rod end. Okay, so it looks like we got the upper control arm on, we got the sway bar link on, we got the tie rod on. So now, oh, we still need to put our tin over here. So now we have actually spread this a little bit, and like I said, I was worried about this, but I'm not worried about it at all. I mean, that's more room than I thought was there, so we should be good. Let's get this tire on and see what the difference looks like. Okay, so I threw those two pictures in there, one before and one after. You can pause and look at them right before I just started speaking here and said, wow, I am so surprised. This looks fantastic. And that went on really well. And we've got plenty of room, plenty of clearance for everything. The hardest part is coming up next, and that is I need to do the other side. Look in the link below this for the parts list and such, and I'll throw this up on the website too if anybody wants to see how I did it step by step. Please do me a favor, please click like, please click subscribe, and click on my name underneath this video for all my other how-to videos. And as always, guys, enjoy.